Fox was very excited to talk about the idea that Chauvin would have been acquitted, and people would have reacted in a very reasonable way, which would have been intense anger and outrage, because that would have been just absurd. And so, but they all had to move to their B narrative of the day. Wasn't just Tucker, who was really mad about it.
Yeah.
Because, you know, he had a whole, you can imagine he's been waiting for weeks for this. Here's Greg Gutfeld. Are they still doing the Gutfeld show? I hope so, because we're gonna have Kindler on and do a breakdown of the show at the end of the week.
Oh, perfect.
But Gutfeld, this is the way that Gutfeld carries that notion. You know, Tucker's there saying the only reason why the jury made this verdict is because they were afraid of the outrage that would follow, as opposed to, you know, the whole thing of like the knee on the neck and cop after cop after cop saying this is not the way this should have been handled, and forensics saying the guy he didn't, you know, people don't die of having taken drugs once in their life. They don't die from, he died because he couldn't breathe. And so here's Gutfeld, his way of carrying that narrative, the B narrative.
And now I'm going to just get really selfish. I'm glad that he was found guilty on all charges.
Yeah.
Even if he might not be guilty of all charges. Oh, my God. I am glad that he is guilty of all charges, because I want a verdict that keeps this country from going up in flames.
Oh, my goodness.
No.
What do you mean?
Look, Greg, listen.
What do you mean? No, I'm at least being honest. My neighborhood was looted. I don't ever want to go through that again.
We do not sacrifice individuals for the sake
I'm saying he's guilty. I'm saying I'm glad about the verdict.
Okay, but the bottom line is that courtroom is a place where the evidence is brought in. It is pristine in terms of the way it's handled. Everything outside of the courtroom does not enter it.
Okay. Whoa. Wait a second. Did you hear what Mike Tobin said when he was interviewing some people when they said, hey, we're not going to loot tonight, we're going to celebrate? We were dealing with what we thought was a sense of extortion, that if this didn't go a certain way, I'm speaking the truth. If it didn't go a certain way, there was going to be destruction. We know that. Why pretend otherwise?
Would they have had this narrative if he got off on some charges, right? Say that he got convicted of third-degree murder, but not second-degree murder. I mean, they'd already decided.
They would have said the same thing. They would have said the same thing, because
that's the pressure from the outside.
Yeah, would have been as easy for them to sell that. They would say they had to get something. They had to convict him on something, and so they just did the least a bit that they wanted to. Yeah. Right? I mean, that was going to be the answer no matter what. And but the idea that the jury decided in that way is really also sort of a pretty horrendous assessment of the jury too, right? Like the whole jury is rigged. The whole thing was rigged as far as they're concerned.
Because of the outcome. They are working backwards from their outcome.
Of course.
You know, otherwise, would they have spoken about the jury being politicized? Say the jury was scared about being attacked by cops or the right wing for declaring him guilty, and so they decide to acquit him on all charges. I mean, they would not be making that argument. The reality is that it's a high-profile case, and so every one of the outcomes is going to be looked at through that lens.
What is if they really are looking for leveraging these type of things, they should look to things like, you know, the New York City cops basically threatening the mayor's kids, essentially, or the idea of police officers saying we're not doing our jobs now because of this. I mean, that's, if you're looking for extortion, that's extortion, because there is no way to address the cops. The cops go, this is a very nice city you had here. Protesters, they're ultimately just going to get arrested by the cops. And so, or they're going to wheel out the National Guard or whatever it is.